Here are Grandpa's 38 free survival gardening hacks you'll wish you knew sooner. Dirt and manure tea. Did you know that steeping manure in soil and water creates a nutrient-rich liquid fertilizer? Grandpa used this trick to boost plant growth without spending a dime. Fill a bucket with aged manure or nutrient-rich soil. Add water and let it sit for a few days. Stir occasionally, then strain and dilute the liquid before applying it to plants. The tea delivers essential minerals directly to the roots, improving soil health and plant resilience. Always use well-composted manure to avoid burning plants. Shade cloth from old sheets. Repurpose worn-out sheets to protect plants from excessive heat. Drape lightweight fabric over garden stakes or hoops to create a breathable barrier. Secure the edges with rocks or clips to prevent wind displacement. The fabric diffuses harsh sunlight, reducing plant stress while maintaining airflow. This method is especially useful for tender crops like lettuce and spinach during hot spells, an easy, cost-free way to prevent wilting. Cayenne and garlic spray. Grandpa swore by cayenne and garlic spray to keep pests away. Blend a few cloves of garlic, a tablespoon of cayenne pepper, and water, then strain and transfer to a spray bottle. Apply the mixture to plant leaves and soil, especially around seedlings. The strong scent and capsaicin deter insects and animals like rabbits and deer. Reapply after rain for continued protection. Always test on a few leaves first to avoid damaging delicate plants. Regrow food from scraps. Turn kitchen waste into free produce by regrowing common vegetables. Place scallion roots in a cup of water. Replant carrot tops in soil, or set a romaine lettuce core in shallow water. Keep them in a sunny spot and refresh the water every few days. Once new growth appears, transfer them to soil for long-term harvests. This simple practice maximizes resources and reduces grocery costs over time. Grow mushrooms in a bucket of coffee grounds. Create a mushroom growing setup using leftover coffee grounds. Mix used coffee grounds with mushroom spores and place them in a bucket with small air holes. Keep the bucket in a dark, humid space and mist it daily. Within weeks, mushrooms will start sprouting. Coffee grounds provide the perfect nutrient base for fungi, while the bucket maintains proper moisture levels. Once harvested, simply add fresh grounds to continue the cycle. Homemade sticky traps. Create an effective pest trap using simple household items. Coat a piece of cardboard or a plastic lid with petroleum jelly or a mix of sugar and honey. Place it near plants affected by aphids, whiteflies, or fungus gnats. Insects are naturally drawn to the sticky surface, preventing them from damaging crops. The trap works by immobilizing pests, reducing infestations without harmful chemicals. Regularly replace or clean the traps to maintain effectiveness. Use a plastic bottle drip system. Turn empty plastic bottles into a slow drip irrigation system. Poke small holes into the sides of a clean bottle, fill it with water, and bury it near plant roots with the cap slightly unscrewed. The bottle gradually releases moisture, keeping soil consistently hydrated without overwatering. This method is ideal for deep-rooted plants like tomatoes and peppers, reducing water waste and preventing soil erosion. Refill as needed, especially in hot weather. Plant marigolds for insect control. Marigolds do more than brighten gardens. They repel pests naturally. Their strong scent deters aphids, nematodes, and even rabbits. Plant marigolds around tomatoes, beans, and squash to create a protective barrier. The roots release a compound that suppresses harmful soil-dwelling pests, improving plant health. Choose French marigolds for the best pest-repelling benefits. Deadhead spent flowers to encourage continuous blooming throughout the season. Crush eggshells for calcium. Boost soil nutrients by crushing and sprinkling eggshells around plants. As they break down, they release calcium, which prevents blossom end rot in tomatoes and peppers. Wash and dry the shells before grinding them into smaller pieces. Scatter them around plant bases or mix them into compost. Eggshells also deter slugs and snails as their sharp edges make crawling uncomfortable. For faster absorption, blend shells into powder before application. Moss and sponge mulch. Retain moisture and improve soil structure by using moss or sponges as mulch. Place damp moss or shredded sponge pieces around plant bases to slow evaporation and maintain consistent hydration. Moss also adds organic material, promoting beneficial microbes. This technique is especially useful for potted plants and raised beds, reducing watering frequency. Replace moss periodically to prevent mold buildup. Charcoal soil booster. Crushed charcoal enriches soil by improving drainage and retaining nutrients. Spread a thin layer of charcoal at the bottom of planters or mix it into garden beds. It absorbs toxins, enhances microbial activity, and prevents soil compaction. Avoid using treated charcoal with chemical additives. Over time, it helps plants access water and nutrients more efficiently, leading to stronger root development. To boost its effect, soak charcoal in compost tea before adding it to the soil. Beer traps for slugs. Slugs are drawn to beer due to its yeast and malt aroma. Pour stale beer into a shallow dish and bury it at soil level near affected plants. Slugs crawl in and drown, reducing their population naturally. Replace beer every few days for effectiveness. This method works best in damp weather when slugs are most active. To maximize the trap's reach, place multiple dishes around the garden, especially near leafy greens. Copper wire around plants stops slugs. A simple ring of copper wire around plants creates a mild electric shock that deters slugs. Wrap copper wire around the base of plants or garden beds, ensuring no gaps for entry. The metal reacts with slug mucus, creating a sensation they avoid. Replace oxidized wire periodically for maximum effectiveness. For extra protection, pair this with beer traps or diatomaceous earth to cover all bases. Use old mattresses as raised beds. Old mattresses provide an easy, cost-free frame for raised garden beds. Remove fabric and springs, leaving just the wooden frame. Fill with nutrient-rich soil and compost before planting. This method creates a defined, contained growing space and improves drainage. Mattresses with thick wooden slats work best for durability. To prevent weeds, place cardboard or newspaper at the bottom before adding soil. Collect rainwater with anything. Any large container can be turned into a rainwater collection system. Position buckets, barrels, or even old bathtubs under downspouts to catch runoff. Rainwater is free from chemicals like chlorine, making it better for plants. Cover containers with mesh to prevent debris and mosquito breeding. For better water storage, install a spigot at the base of a barrel for easy access. Rotten logs for Hugelkultur. Improve soil health by using decayed logs in raised beds. Place large, rotting logs at the base of a garden bed, then layer smaller branches, compost, and soil on top. As the logs decompose, they release nutrients, retain moisture, and promote microbial activity. This technique reduces watering needs and creates rich, aerated soil. Hugelkultur is especially useful in dry climates, keeping roots hydrated longer. Over time, the logs break down, feeding plants naturally. Save ashes to repel ants and cabbage worms. Wood ash is an effective natural pest deterrent. Sprinkle cool, dry ashes around plants to create a barrier that repels ants, slugs, and cabbage worms. The fine texture dehydrates soft-bodied pests while adding potassium and calcium to the soil. Avoid using ashes from chemically treated wood, as they may contain harmful compounds. Reapply after heavy rain to maintain effectiveness. Grandpa always kept a bucket of ashes nearby for garden protection. Plant garlic and onions as natural pest repellents. Grow garlic and onions around vegetable beds to ward off unwanted insects. Their strong scent confuses pests like aphids, carrot flies, and deer, keeping them from feasting on crops. Plant garlic cloves in the fall and onions in early spring for season-long protection. Companion planting with leafy greens or tomatoes maximizes garden space while improving plant health. Harvest bulbs when leaves yellow and dry for fresh, homegrown pest control. Pee on your plants. Did you know that human urine is a free nitrogen-rich fertilizer? Dilute 1 part urine with 10 parts water and pour it around non-edible plants or fruit trees. The nitrogen boost promotes leafy growth, while phosphorus and potassium support root development. Avoid applying directly to plant leaves to prevent burning. Grandpa swore by this trick, using it to fertilize his corn and fruit trees. To prevent odor buildup, rotate application spots throughout the garden. Succession planting for continuous harvest. Planting in intervals ensures a steady food supply instead of one big harvest. Start by sowing a small batch of fast-growing crops like lettuce, radishes, or carrots every 2 weeks. As one round matures, another is just sprouting. Rotate plant varieties to prevent soil depletion and pest buildup. Staggering plantings also helps manage surplus and reduces waste. To optimize space, replace harvested plants with new ones immediately. Weeds for free compost. Turn garden weeds into nutrient-rich compost instead of tossing them. Pull weeds before they seed, then chop them into small pieces to speed up decomposition. Layer them into a compost pile with other organic matter like leaves and kitchen scraps. Weeds add nitrogen, improving soil fertility while reducing waste. Avoid invasive species like bindweed or thistle unless hot composting to kill seeds. If done right, even unwanted plants can get back to the garden. Grow climbing beans on fences, trees. Let climbing beans use existing structures as support. Plant bean seeds near fences, trees, or trellises, allowing them to naturally wrap around for stability. This saves space while maximizing vertical growth. Beans also fix nitrogen into the soil, benefiting surrounding plants. Ensure the structure is strong enough to support mature vines, and prune excess growth to keep plants productive. Using existing supports eliminates the need for stakes, making it a low-cost, high-yield solution. Eggshell barrier against slugs. Keep slugs away with crushed eggshells. Dry and crush eggshells into coarse pieces, then sprinkle them around the base of plants. The sharp edges deter soft-bodied pests, preventing them from reaching crops. Over time, eggshells break down, adding calcium to the soil, which strengthens plant cell walls. Reapply after heavy rain for continued protection. This method works best when combined with hand-picking slugs at dusk. Mulch with everything. Retain moisture and suppress weeds by using various organic materials as mulch. Grass clippings, leaves, straw, and shredded newspaper all create an effective barrier against weeds while keeping the soil cool. Spread mulch evenly around plants, leaving space around stems to prevent rot. As mulch decomposes, it enriches the soil with nutrients, reducing the need for fertilizers. Regularly replenishing mulch ensures long-term soil health and improved plant growth. Sunken beds for dry climates. Improve water retention by planting in sunken beds. Dig shallow depressions instead of raised beds, allowing rainwater to collect and soak into the soil. This method prevents runoff and keeps plant roots hydrated longer. Ideal for arid regions. Line the base with compost to improve drainage and boost nutrients. Sunken beds also protect plants from drying winds, helping them thrive with less irrigation. With the right setup, even drought-prone gardens can flourish. Cinder block gardens. Use cinder blocks to create durable, cost-effective garden beds. Arrange them in a rectangle, filling the center with nutrient-rich soil. The hollow block openings can also be filled with soil to grow small herbs or flowers. Cinder blocks retain heat, keeping roots warm in cooler weather. They also provide excellent drainage, preventing root rot. Unlike wood, they don't decay, making them a long-term solution for raised beds. For added stability, stack them 2 layers high. Dead fish or roadkill as trap crops. Bury dead fish or small roadkill near plants to lure pests away from main crops. This method attracts insects that would otherwise feed on vegetables, redirecting them to a sacrificial site. As the remains break down, they also release essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, enriching the soil naturally. Dig a hole at least 12 inches deep to prevent scavengers from digging it up. Cover the area with mulch to control odor and decomposition speed. Grow potatoes in trash bags. Did you know that potatoes grow well in trash bags? This method surprisingly saves space while improving yields. Use a heavy-duty trash bag and poke small drainage holes in the bottom. Fill it with a mix of soil and compost, then plant seed potatoes a few inches deep. As the plants grow, roll up the sides of the bag and add more soil to encourage tuber development. The black plastic retains heat, accelerating growth. Once ready, simply dump the bag out for easy harvesting. Bury logs in beds, Hugelkultur method. Bury rotting logs beneath garden beds to improve soil moisture and fertility. Start by digging a trench, placing logs inside, and covering them with compost and soil. The wood acts like a sponge, absorbing water and slowly releasing it to plant roots. Over time, the logs break down, enriching the soil with organic matter. This method reduces watering needs and works especially well in dry climates. Choose hardwoods for long-lasting benefits. Burn bones for phosphorus. Boost soil phosphorus by turning animal bones into nutrient-rich ash. Collect and dry bones, then burn them in a fire until they crumble easily. Crush the ash into a fine powder and mix it into garden soil to promote strong root growth. Phosphorus is essential for flowering and fruiting plants, making this an excellent natural fertilizer. Avoid using bones from processed meats to prevent contaminants. Ash can be stored for later use in sealed containers. Use old tires for deep-root crops. Grandpa always found ways to repurpose materials, and old tires made perfect deep-root crop beds. Stack 2 or 3 tires on top of each other and fill them with nutrient-rich soil. The rubber absorbs heat, warming the soil and promoting root growth. This setup works well for carrots, parsnips, and potatoes as the depth encourages longer, straighter roots. Drill drainage holes at the bottom to prevent water buildup. As crops grow, simply add another tire and more soil. Morning and evening, watering only. Watering at the right time reduces evaporation and helps plants absorb moisture more efficiently. Early morning watering allows roots to soak up water before the sun intensifies, reducing stress on plants. Evening watering helps cool the soil and replenish lost moisture, but avoid wetting leaves to prevent fungal growth. Use a slow trickle method at the base of plants for deeper root absorption. In hot climates, sticking to these times conserves water and maximizes hydration. Ice cubes for slow watering. Use ice cubes for a controlled release of moisture, especially for potted plants and seedlings. Place a few ice cubes at the base of plants, allowing them to melt gradually and prevent overwatering. This method is ideal for hanging baskets, orchids, and plants with delicate roots that dislike heavy watering. It's also useful for vacation watering when you can't tend to your garden daily. For added nutrients, freeze diluted compost tea into cubes. Grow corn, beans, and squash together. 3 Sisters method. This ancient Native American method creates a balanced ecosystem that benefits all 3 crops. Corn provides a natural trellis for beans to climb, while beans fix nitrogen into the soil, enriching it for other plants. Squash spreads along the ground, acting as a living mulch to retain moisture and suppress weeds. Plant corn first, then beans a week later, followed by squash. This intercropping technique increases yield and improves soil health without synthetic fertilizers. Urine and wood ash mix for free NPK fertilizer. Grandpa swore by this old-school fertilizer mix for strong, healthy plants. Urine is naturally rich in nitrogen, while wood ash provides potassium and phosphorus, creating a balanced, free alternative to store-bought fertilizers. Dilute 1 part urine with 10 parts water, then mix in a handful of wood ash. Pour it around the base of plants, avoiding leaves. This mixture works especially well for leafy greens and root vegetables. Use sparingly to prevent excess salt buildup in the soil. Sow seeds in toilet paper rolls. Toilet paper rolls make biodegradable seed starters that transplant directly into the garden. Cut rolls in half for shallow-rooted plants like lettuce, or leave them full-sized for deep-rooted ones. Fill with moist potting soil and plant seeds according to packet instructions. Keep them in a sunny spot and water lightly. Once seedlings sprout, plant the entire roll into the soil. It decomposes naturally, preventing transplant shock. This method is great for reducing plastic waste too. Makeshift greenhouse from plastic bottles. Plastic bottles create mini greenhouses that protect seedlings from cold and pests. Cut the bottom off a large plastic bottle and place it over young plants, pushing it slightly into the soil to hold it in place. The clear plastic traps heat and moisture, promoting faster germination. On warm days, remove the cap to allow airflow and prevent overheating. Use this trick to extend your growing season, especially in cooler climates where frost lingers. Ash for alkaline soil. Wood ash naturally raises soil pH, making it ideal for crops that thrive in alkaline conditions, such as cabbage, onions, and asparagus. Sprinkle a thin layer of ash over the soil and mix it in before planting. Avoid using it around acid-loving plants like blueberries or potatoes. Ash also improves soil texture and contains trace minerals that enhance plant growth. Apply in moderation. Excessive use can alter soil balance and reduce nutrient availability. For more contents like this, click here to subscribe.